I have been reading just so many articles and headlines this past week. We got to talk about it. Chinese companies are pressuring employees to marry and have children to help boost their birth rates.
Okay.
If they do not get married, they will get fired.
And the repercussions that red pill content have on men, because the person that I wanted to spend my life with, the person I was in love with, the person I wanted to marry changed overnight because of the content like that.
Red pill content, which refers to right-wing content, often male-focused online material claiming to reveal harsh truths about society, especially around gender and relationships.
I gotta add a new non-negotiable to my list of deal breakers. Like, I now need to add, if he knows what a parlay is, to my list. I need to add, if he has DraftKings on his phone, we can't date.
What is happening with men?
Welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker podcast. I'm your host, Matchmaker Maria. Now, on this podcast, we always talk about love, relationships, dating trends, all the stories where we talk about connection. But relationships are affected by news, culture, politics, even economics. And I have been reading just so many articles and headlines this past week. We got to talk about it. And I am so happy to have Kaneez back on the podcast. She is my March co-host.
Hello. Again, I love being here.
I love that you're here. You're here all month.
Yes, exactly. I'm so excited. Can I come back again after this month?
Yeah, you are always welcome here.
Thank you so much.
It's so funny because last week's episode, I rarely watch my own podcast.
Yeah.
I actually watched last week's episode on YouTube because it just gave me such a serotonin boost to see you.
Oh, no, stop it.
Yeah.
No,
so if you're listening to this on an audio app, please keep doing that. I love getting those download numbers. But also head on to YouTube and watch us.
Yes, in human form.
That's right. And I think this might actually be a great episode to watch on YouTube because we're going to be showing some visuals and some articles that I have read this week.
And some cleavage.
Some cleavage.
I'm sorry, no, there's no cleavage. If you guys come to YouTube, you'll be very disappointed. I was trying to get people to
Oh my God. All right, so here we go. I've got a lot of news. You ready to look at some news items with me?
I am very interested to know what's going on around the world.
All right, so I recently came across this wild article from the New York Times. Chinese, I have not told Kaneez any of this. Let's zoom on her face for a second.
Real reactions.
You ready?
Yeah.
Chinese companies are pressuring employees to marry and have children to help boost their birth rates.
Okay.
If they do not get married, they will get fired. And the deadline is September 30th.
So you just have to get married.
And have to start planning a family.
How do they know if you're planning a family?
Are you pregnant?
You'd be pregnant, or you'd be married by the 30th and then pregnant 9 months later. That's how pregnancy works.
We're going to have to look at the New York Times article to confirm it. But it said, if you open up the New York Times article, it says it instructed them to start families by September 30th or else. The quote is, if you cannot get married and start a family within 3 quarters, the company will terminate your labor contract.
You know what? I think this will give some people who need to kick up their bums. Can I say ass? Yes, you can say ass.
Yes, welcome to my podcast.
For the children listening, just close your ears.
Yes, all the kids listening.
Yeah, all the kids listening about relationship advice. I think this is a great kick up the ass that some men and women need. There's so many people saying, I want to get married, and then they end up being avoidant or all the issues and all the trauma and blah, 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 blah. So maybe if you just give them an ultimatum, they might actually do it because they keep saying they want to do it.
Stop being avoidant.
Find
a good woman.
Just find a woman and
settle.
Just do it. You want to get
settle, like we said last week. Don't settle. Now you got to settle.
Just settle.
Just settle. I'm
saying that's one side to this.
I just want to read one more thing here. Why is this happening? Last year, 6.1 million Chinese couples got married, a 20% decline from the year earlier.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty significant.
That's a huge number.
Yeah.
Like 5%. That's 50%.
No. So this is from a chemical company. It started circulating online, unmarried couples between the age of 20 and 58, including divorced workers. So even if you're divorced.
Oh my God, oh no, you have to go through it again. No. They're like, you already did it. What do you want from us?
No, that's
no.
Now they have retracted. It has been retracted.
Okay. So that's it. In conclusion, well done, China.
I don't know if I agree with you on this, but I do appreciate that. I think if there is a marriage decline in a lot of countries,
Yes.
and instead of
Forcing.
forcing people to get married, maybe if governments are really that concerned about a declining birth rate,
Right.
maybe we should be asking ourselves why certain people do not have traits that another person would deem marriable.
Okay. Oh my God, that sounds like a lot of work for the government to do.
Well, hold on a second. In the
Yeah.
United States, we have the Surgeon General, and he's talking about like there's a male loneliness epidemic, right? Okay. If you really cared, instead of just saying, oh, there's an epidemic,
Yeah.
then you would be, I believe, you would be providing more funds in spaces where men can create community.
Yeah.
Men can make friends.
True.
But we don't see that happening.
Okay. Yeah.
It's one thing to say, 1 in 3 male deaths are despair deaths. Okay.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Fair. That's fair.
So I don't think it's interesting that a company though is what I find is just like a private company is like,
company.
hey, you need to get married or else
Interesting.
you're going to lose your money, become homeless.
Yeah.
And now you're definitely not marriable.
I obviously it's you can't take away people's choices.
Now I have other global examples of pro-single pressure.
Okay.
What marriage pressure did you experience growing up? And was there a cultural expectation where you grow up? So for instance, in Sweden, nearly 50% of households are single person, the highest in the world. And solo living is normalized.
Yeah.
However, what we should remember about Sweden is that they have affordable public services, that they have social clubs, there's urban planning that supports independent lifestyles. And also in the United States, for instance, right, when you get married, you get certain tax breaks.
Benefits, yeah.
You already get that there.
Regardless,
like
whether
it's
you're
not,
married or not.
Yeah, like you getting married, the institution of marriage is not seen as like you could get married.
Yeah.
Right. You could have kids
incentives to get
but there's
married.
the legal incentive.
Yeah, legal incentives
is removed, right? You're actually marrying them for love.
Yeah.
Not for, I need to guarantee that this person will be able. Well, even like medically, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to guarantee that this person that I married gets the final say on what happens to me if I'm incapacitated at the hospital. Like there are certain rights that are afforded to Swedish citizens.
That's amazing. I want to go to Sweden.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like people, I'm guessing also in Sweden, people really concentrate on building intimate friendships and relationships outside of romantic love.
I mean, it's extreme collectivist society.
Yeah.
They get taxed to the yazoo and they love it.
Yes,
so
because they get the benefits from the taxes that they pay.
I believe also Sweden has a law where a CEO can only make like X amount of money compared to the lowest paid employee.
See?
We don't have that here.
What are we doing here?
So like if you look at the IKEA CEO,
he makes like
I think he makes like $4 million a year.
Because his lowest paying.
Yeah, he has to be that multiplier.
But yeah.
And then like think about, here we have a bank that will go under.
Yeah.
Get bailed out by the government.
But the CEO is making.
CEO is still making $20 million.
Yeah.
And I'm like, interesting.
Well, let's move to Sweden.
Maybe. All right.
I'm sorry. I don't know why these conclusions are so random. Sorry, next.
All right. Now we're going to head over to Japan. Embracing Ohitori-sama, solo activities. Japan has restaurants, karaoke bars, and even travel agencies specifically catering to single people. There are also capsule hotels designed for solo stays.
Oh, that's fun. What's Ohitori-sama? What did you say? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You probably said it correctly.
No, I did not. What is it?
That's just the word that they have for solo activities.
Okay.
They have a whole word.
I love this. And they're embracing solo activities. Don't you love doing things alone? I love going to the movies alone.
Yes, I love going to the movies alone.
It's so, I embrace solo activities. So,
yeah.
Yay. I'm actually going to Japan next week. So.
Are you going to do Ohitori-sama?
No, I'm going with my entire family.
Oh, God. Good luck.
Opposite of Ohitori-sama.
All right. South Korea, the rise of Hanjuk culture celebrates solo living with single-family restaurants, private dining booths, and thriving market for solo travel experiences. I love that South Korea is on this because, yes, they have this culture that's embracing solo people, single people, or people who just are not necessarily like legally partnered.
Yes.
At the same time, they have the lowest birth rate in the entire world.
Oh, is it? And look at them. They're not freaking out like China.
Oh, they are freaking out.
Oh.
They're for sure freaking out.
Does China need more babies? I'm just putting it out there.
Okay.
It's just a question, not an opinion.
Oh my God, you're going to get me canceled.
No, I'm just saying in terms of numbers, I think that's a fair question.
I think also, look, I'm not an anthropologist, but I do wonder what it must be like sometimes for Chinese adults that are our age who have no cousins, have parents who they're their only child.
Right.
You have four grandparents.
Yeah.
You're their singular grandchild.
Right.
And now you have all these spoiled children that are adults that are trying to date other, not to say that solo children are spoiled.
But like just you had a lot of attention.
Yeah, you have a lot of attention. Yeah. And I think that does make marriage harder because you've never learned how to compromise over toys.
Maybe.
How will you compromise as an adult?
Is that a thing? Are single, are like individual kids, what is the term for one kid, having one kid? Oh my God.
There's a word for it. Only child. Wow. We're so dumb.
I haven't had my coffee, so.
All right. Germany. One-person households make 40% of the population. Cities like Berlin. Social benefits and rent control make it easier for singles to live comfortably without relying on a partner.
Okay.
Hey, fun fact. In Germany, just like in Greece, brothels can be legal.
Yeah.
And in Germany, there's a subsidy for men, maybe women too, but after a certain age, you have a subsidy.
To go visit the brothel?
Yeah.
Why do they want you to
They don't want old people to be depressed.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I feel like we need to bring that to America. I bet we would have less mass shooters.
And less loneliness in men. If you want to, like that's, I mean, that's one way you can fix that problem.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to this anthropologist talk about men and specifically like incels this past week.
Yeah.
I think this is also newsworthy. And he was saying that like our cultural institutions, our institutions in general, like over the last centuries, always had incels, like always had maybe violent young men.
Right.
But those men had organization institutions to like be a part of.
Like? So
like maybe they joined a monastery or maybe they were the conquistadors or they were the Vikings, like they were put to war.
Exactly, war.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it made me think of like, you know, how certain terrorists are promised like 70 virgins or something.
Yeah, 72.
And it's like, 72, excuse me. Oh, yes, the official Muslim educator over here.
You could get the numbers right.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
So, but you know, that's like, oh yeah, like that makes sense to me that these people exist. They've always existed. We just now know them because of.
But it's not everyone gets 72 virgins. Every male gets it, not just terrorists.
What?
Don't discriminate against other men. Everyone gets 72 virgins, all men. Do you know what a woman get? Apparently, listen, I know I'm going to get comments around this, but from whatever I've read, and this is only my understanding of it, I read that women, when they go to heaven, they get beauty. God makes you so beautiful that your partner, and also I love how God assumed that everyone going to heaven has partners, that your partner will not want to sleep with the 72 virgins because you're so beautiful.
Jesus, we don't even get like the social pressure of being beautiful after death.
After death, I was like, I don't want beauty.
I wish the camera was showing our producer's face because look at her face right now. She's like horrified.
I don't want beauty. I want 72 virgins as well.
Men?
No, actually, I don't want 72 virgin men. I want 72 men who've had lots of sex.
Oh, you're going to get like an STD.
In heaven.
But what would you want when you go to when you go to heaven?
I mean,
what would you want? That's 72.
First of all, I don't want to go to heaven. I want to go to hell because all my friends will be there.
Please make this the clip. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I want to. That's where all my family and friends are going to be. I don't want to be in heaven alone. Boring.
Backstreet Boys are there.
In heaven? You think?
That's what they told us in the movie. This is the end.
So just me and Backstreet Boys and everyone I love down in hell and just me and Backstreet Boys.
That sounds like heaven to me.
Okay, then Backstreet Boys. That's enough for me.
72?
No, just 5 of them. just the 5 of them is good enough.
What would I want of 72 of?
What would you want 72 of?
the Sabrina Carpenter brown sugar shaken espresso.
We need to get Dunkin' Donuts.
Dude,
You need to get them to brand this.
I need you guys to come sponsor this
You need to
podcast
sponsor-
because this is the best coffee I've
Dunkin',
ever
if you're
had.
listening to this podcast, we need you to sponsor it, please.
Rename it to Matchmaker Maria's coffee addiction. Okay. All right. The second thing on the news, red pill content, which refers to right-wing content, often male-focused online material claiming to reveal harsh truths about society, especially around gender and relationships. It promotes rigid masculinity, frames women as hypergamous, and encourages dominance in relationships, often reinforcing toxic or misogynistic views.
Okay, what is hypergamous?
So hypergamous is the word. I actually have this in my book.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. So hypergamy is the idea that when women date, they should be dating up. Socially?
Okay. Socially.
Like, for instance, and this happens, we are all
Yeah.
socialized this way. We're like, when a woman meets a man,
Yeah.
she wants him to make more money.
Yes,
She wants him to have a higher social status. And frankly, like, men don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I've never met a man who's like, oh, well, I have a few clients, but they're like, she needs to make this amount of money and like
But
she needs
that's
to have this
more-
education.
But that's more because they want to make sure she's sorted. In our case, it's like we need, like women they think that way because they want the man to support them, right?
Should shit hit the fan, sure.
Yeah. But
I
I'm saying
think-
these men
yeah.
who want women who make money, why do they want that woman to make money?
I don't know.
Like your
I have a few clients like this. Not all of them, but like there's always 1 in 10 clients who are like, she needs to be Ivy League educated. And I'm like, okay, fine. She went to Yale.
Yeah, is that?
So anyway, it says I saw this TikTok video. I want to show it to you. It's called Red Pill Content Ruined My Relationship.
I was with my best friend from 19 to 26 years old. You want to know I ruined that relationship? We were long distance for a period of time. I went during the pandemic and I was staying with him in Vancouver and something changed. And you want to know what changed? He started watching podcasts like Fresh and Fit. He started listening to content about MGTOW and that man changed. And I would sit across from him and not understand the person that I was seeing. I felt like I was waking up to somebody that I did not know. I am qualified to talk about this shit. I am qualified to understand the repercussions that red pill content have on men, because the person that I wanted to spend my life with, the person I was in love with, the person I wanted to fucking marry changed overnight because of the content like that. And I see now the men who do watch that content, I hear the things that they say because I would listen to it. I actually started consuming that content because I wanted to understand what happened. To all the men who asked me that question, there's your answer.
Okay. So one of the things that I'm hearing from her is that there is content out there.
Yes.
That is, let's call it red pill.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means, that reference?
I mean, you mentioned it earlier, like you read up, but like, what exactly is red pill content? Like Andrew Tate kind of stuff?
Sure. Yeah. Andrew
that's
Tate, Fresh and Fit.
Yeah.
There's plenty of podcasts out there. And, the one thing I always try to explain to people is that because outrage monetizes best online, these men and some women, they know what they're doing. They're saying stuff that they might not even necessarily believe in.
Right.
But because it gets engagement, they will be able to monetize off of it. Right?
Okay, yeah.
But then when you get enough listeners, you will start to also kind of believe your own shtick.
Yes.
Right? And then you'll hear phrases from these men. I mentioned Fresh and Fit in my book. I don't know if we ended up keeping Fresh and Fit or we just named their names. But that's a podcast. And, they say stuff like, what do you bring to the table to a woman?
Yeah.
And it's like, why do I need to bring anything to it? What is this question?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're trying to determine if you want to date me by seeing like what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
Like, what do you bring to the table? Like, why is that? That's not what relationships are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? At its fundamental level. But they get a lot of listeners. They get a lot of beautiful women who come onto their podcast to debate them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of the women, I think they're primed not to debate back in the appropriate way. He'll say, like, some of the men will say stuff like, you think you're a 10, but you're a 3.
Okay.
And it's
like,
chill.
I've seen clips of these.
Yeah,
Yes,
you've
I know
seen
what
these
you're
clips.
talking about. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't personally find it entertaining, but Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, these sort of podcasts, they
Yeah.
have so many copycats at this
Yes,
point.
Yes.
And a lot of men, especially men in the loneliness epidemic, or men who are being rejected because, let's go back to China now,
Yeah.
they're not deemed marriable
Right.
by the people that they'd like to mate with.
Yeah. So that leads them to kind of
They subscribe to this, that
They
women
subscribe to this,
suck. I
all
hate
us.
women. I mean, that's what misogyny is the hate of women.
correct.
And I always think sometimes, like when I see these clips, it's like, I think a lot of these straight men like fucking women.
Yeah.
I don't think they like women.
No, of course. That's exactly it. It's not like they're not grossed out by women. They just don't like women.
Right. And now because women are a little bit more educated over the last
Yeah.
5 years of like how to clock it in
And navigate that.
and navigate that, yes, they are rejecting them. They're like, this isn't working for me. You know, I
Yeah.
mentioned to one of our producers earlier before we started the episode that like the first thing that women judge any man they've ever met within 4 seconds is this man a creep?
Yep.
Is this man safe?
Absolutely. That safety is number one. It's not like, are they fuckable? It's,
No.
Am I safe?
Am I safe?
Yeah. No, but it's like, it's so sad. Like that's what we go into any.
Well, when you think about the number one risk in a woman's life
Yeah.
is who she marries. Whereas like for men, it's like what? Heart disease?
Oh my God.
Like
Then it's
this is an unequal playing field.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, it's funny because now that I just said that, I'm thinking about like online dating, you know, like one of our programs, the Dating Refresh program, is like we help singles, both men and women,
Yeah.
online date. We help manage their online dating profile, right?
Oh, cool.
And sometimes I will look at male online dating profiles and I'm like, you're straight. Yet these photos,
Yeah.
who are they for? Like you doing like a gym selfie with your muscles,
Yeah,
you in
yeah.
front of your car. Like this is maybe for men.
Yeah.
But men are you're on the straight side of this dating app. Men are not looking at these photos.
You're doing this for male gaze. These are
These are male gaze photos.
Anything in a gym, anything with a car or exactly what, yeah.
And so I have to sit
with a
down and
fish.
explain like male gaze versus female gaze. Like I have to explain the context of how their photos look to women.
Yeah.
And we just changed like such minor things, like their photos.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like, oh my God, Maria, I'm going out with all these women now. And I'm like, yeah, because you don't look like
get
a
the ick
fucking
from-
creep.
Yeah, you don't look like a creep. You don't look like a misogynist. You don't look like someone who's just so heavily male, you know, like testosterone.
You don't look like a guy who's
aggressive.
being promised, 72 virgins.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you come across. When you hold a fish up in your profile, if you're holding a fish, you come across as a terrorist. No, that's not it. But like, we don't like that. We don't like you holding
You're
a
allowed to
fish.
say that.
Thank you.
All right. So the next thing that came across my feed was
Yeah.
about sports betting.
Okay.
Let's watch this TikTok.
Yeah. And then
I thought she just raised
discuss.
a lot of points. And the coolest part about her video, she talks about the new deal breakers. And
Oh.
I think that these were excellent deal breakers
Okay.
to think about in dating.
Okay. Okay.
Rare do I ever say that.
Let's do this.
I'm convinced that sports betting is running through the straight male community worse than crack did black people in the 80s. It is bad out here. I had no idea that the online gambling, the FanDuel, the DraftKings was running y'all's pockets that way. I had no idea. As someone who is single and does not hang around very many straight men, of course, y'all are down bad. I mean, you have a quarter of men under the age of 30 engage in sports gambling.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Parlays.
Wow.
The dumbest bet I've ever heard in my life. A parlay. You need multiple things to be true to win your bet. What? Are y'all all suckers? What? And then I read an article that said, if you are good at sports betting, meaning you win instead of the house winning, which is always what happens, you get banned. Not just from one platform, but they all share information and you'll be banned from all of them all at once because you're successful.
Oh my God.
I'm like, are y'all this silly to not understand this is a waste of your money? I got to add a new non-negotiable to my list of deal breakers. Like, I now need to add, if he knows what a parlay is, to my list. I need to add, if he has DraftKings on his phone, we can't date. The fact that there was a bet on the color of the Gatorade that was going to be poured on the winning team's coach in the Super Bowl. Is this not crazy to anybody? Is this not absurd? Do y'all just like throwing away money? Some of y'all need to call that number. Some of y'all need to call that number at the end of the commercials that they put in tiny font because they're waiting on y'all's phone call. Some of y'all need help.
So this makes so much sense now because I didn't know that there was a bet on the Gatorade color during the
insane.
Super Bowl. But I remember like people reacting.
To the color of the Gatorade.
It's green. It's green. And I'm like,
I remember like everyone's reaction. I was like, so? Yes, I saw that all over. I was like, you guys about the what?
Now that I know that, I'm like, you're losers.
Oh my God. Does this include like premium league? Not premium leagues. What's it called? What's the online soccer betting thing?
There's a lot of
Football. Fantasy league.
Yeah.
Does this include fantasy league?
I don't think of football
league.
fantasy groups. I actually really like it when people
Okay.
do that because it's not necessarily, I want to say
Gambling.
betting or gambling.
Yeah,
but it's like, ooh, men get to meet with other men, their
Okay,
friends.
it's more community oriented.
Yeah, it's community
building.
oriented.
Okay.
You know, throwing a barber there and
Okay.
everyone gets a haircut.
Right.
You know? But like, this is different because you're at home on your couch. You're gambling away your money. The fact that a quarter of young men are participating in this. Like, you know, the thing about casinos is that in general, like the casino, the traditional casino
Right.
is that you would have to have either flown or taken a bus
Yes.
to Las Vegas or
Yes.
Atlantic City.
And then
And you need to pay for a room.
yeah.
You know, you got to get dressed.
It's a thing.
There's this barrier to entry,
Yeah.
if you will. But now that betting is legal and you could do it from the comfort of your couch.
It's just literally. You know, honestly, Maria, I'm just looking at both these last two articles, and in general, even like the Chinese one. Just going back to what is happening with men. I feel like something is happening with men. They're
And
really-
I'll say not all men.
obviously not all men,
But the not all
I'm
men
talking about
are
these
what
statistics.
Yeah,
Like,
but
what-
not all men. I think it's becoming a minority. Like I'm going to
Yes.
look at the statistics of like, okay, how many white men voted for Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
Those are the guys that have all of the women wanting them.
They're the high.
The safe.
Yes. What is it? What is happening with? I really want to understand, like, what is happening with men? Why are they turning to red pill content? Why are they turning to betting? Why are they subscribing to all of this and then not getting married and then not? Do you think after maybe the Me Too, like men got scared of women? Also, like we talk about misogyny, hating women. Do you think men are also scared of women now?
Me Too definitely shifted the dating landscape, but
yes.
I don't think in a negative way.
Of course, not for us.
Not for us.
Yes,
And what I mean by
absolutely.
that is it certainly changed because I think some men were like, oh, well, can I flirt at work?
Yeah.
How do I go up to a woman and like now that I know I'm bothering women, I don't.
Yes.
So what happened was like the good guys, let's call them, the safe guys.
Yeah.
They're the ones who were like, oh, consent, you know.
They're
and
the ones
like,
thinking about all of this and then
yeah.
Yeah.
And those guys are being gobbled up. Like
see?
those are the men that are getting in relationships.
Yeah.
And then you have this other group of men who are bitching and crying about
It's
not
my-
bothering women.
Yeah.
And you know, it's
I'm just curious, like, why are men? Yeah, why are they struggling right now?
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of struggle, but I think it's also because the outrage machine is
Just
so monetized that it's really hard for truth to come in, to like break that. There's like such a barrier to entry even for myself, right? I have pitched myself to a few of these podcasts.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, come on,
yeah,
have me on.
yeah.
And I've seen their fan bases. I know I'll get ripped to shreds.
Yeah.
But my hope is that, you know, maybe I convince, I don't know, 3% of the men listening that
Something.
like, look, I have access to all these women and here's what they're telling me,
Yeah.
right? A lot of this though is institutionalized version of masculinity. So like, for instance, we are seeing our mainstream media even vilify healthy men.
Right.
I'll give you an example. Jesse Waters, he is a host on Fox.
Okay.
After Kamala Harris became a private citizen, she went grocery shopping with her husband.
Yeah.
And on TV, this man said, what kind of man goes grocery shopping?
Right. Right.
And it's like, okay, he's now publicly showing shame to a man for for grocery
need
shopping.
grocery, yeah.
Right. And what that does is that, that message is not meant for me and you.
Yeah.
But that message is meant for some 16-year-old boy
Who's not going to now do the job of
they don't understand. And that's what I see is like I have friends whose kids are teenagers and I could see like, wow, your son is already in red pill content.
Yeah.
Your son hates women. Your son might not be going to college, and instead of blaming, oh, I didn't study for this test, or I didn't show up, or I overused ChatGPT and didn't understand what I'm supposed to be learning.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, oh, well, that woman or that Black person or that Indian person, like,
trans person or gay person.
whatever. It's like, I'm going to blame them because I can't meet.
Yeah, because I'm not getting what I want.
And that's why I feel like you do see right now, like, we're talking about the news. The last few weeks, we've seen a deconstruction of DEI policies. We've seen a deconstruction of even like national recognizable holidays.
Yeah.
And that were centered around, culture and race.
Yeah.
And it's like, from some people. And
so
I'm like, how does this threaten you?
Yeah. And now so white men feel like they're.
But it's not just white men.
It's also
this stuff is also this is all men.
Sorry, white men. It's not just you guys. It's all men.
I think women and men have been sold a false product since childhood. All women have been told by their fathers and mothers, you could be anything you want.
Correct.
And then boys were told, if you put your mind to it,
you can get it.
You can get it.
You can get anything you want.
Yeah, but thinking about it is not the same as working at it.
Yes, you put your mind to it.
Right? And I think because of that, it's like, well, why does she get, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of, right now, the men I'm referring to feel very entitled and they're not getting what they feel entitled to.
And I do meet good men. Like I have some incredible matchmaking clients and they're most of them are ultra liberal.
I have a lot of wonderful men and I've dated some wonderful men.
And
like, that's not.
The thing that I find really interesting though is in that political discourse of the male clients.
Yeah.
My liberal clients, my liberal men, they only want to date liberal women.
Yeah.
My conservative clients
want to date liberal women.
They want to date liberal women.
Bum, bum, bum.
And I'm like, wait, what? They're like, well, I like a debate. I'm like, they don't want to debate you on a date.
Yeah.
Like, stop bothering them.
They want to change them?
So I think it's about taking a free bird and putting her back in the cage. And that feels way better than a woman who's already in the trad wife mode.
Right. You're like, I made her. I changed her. I caged her.
I've dated men like that where it's like they were so attracted to me because of my power and like my ambition. And then it's like once they were dating me, they were like, okay, now you can't do this anymore.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
And I know a lot of people are listening and be like, I'm not like that. And we're not saying like you consciously think about these things. These are like subconscious ideas that you have of women in relationships. And not something that you think, I'm going to cage. That's not what that is.
Our media shapes it fully. Since we were kids, our media shapes it. I'll give you, I mentioned this in my book and I just want to throw it out there. I know you didn't grow up here, but there was this show called Boy Meets World.
Yes, I remember it was available in South Africa.
Okay. Yeah. And the main character, he is dating Topanga.
Yes.
Topanga gets into an Ivy League university. Mm-hmm. She does not go. She stays back to marry him.
Oh my God.
Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, like the media that even raised me is telling us, oh, you worked really hard. You were valedictorian and you're getting into a good school. That's enough.
That's enough.
Go back, get married. Like I write about this in my book and I just think like the media does shape us. Mm-hmm. And I've said this before. I think my favorite show is The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Fuck Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Fuck Bill Cosby.
Yes,
but Claire Huxtable. Claire Huxtable is my mom goals.
Yeah.
Because the expectation of all the kids is to the roof.
Yeah.
And you better meet it. Otherwise I'll be it's like rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't have shows like that anymore.
No, we don't have. But I do think we need to put that out and like think about like what is happening with men right now. And I don't mean to be like, what the fuck's happening with you guys? You guys are useless and you guys
No, they're not useless. They need to be allies though.
Yes.
I don't see a single man protesting in the streets about women's rights.
Right. But I'm just wondering like how do we meet them half?
Why?
Again, maybe I know. Why should we do any labor? Why should we do any of the work?
You make me do
Yes,
much
absolutely.
labor.
I agree with you. And I don't, it's not like I want to like do the labor for them, but I'm like, how do we change? Because
I
listen,
feel
us
like if we
women
want
are-
to fix the mating crisis, we have to show men,
Yeah.
here's what we find safe and actually attractive in a man.
Right. And like,
You're being sold the cover of Men's Health. Women want the guy that's sitting across.
okay, so that's why you want to go on these podcasts. You want to be like, this is what women find attractive. Like, if
Yeah.
you're wondering if it's not so mysterious. It's not as mysterious as you think it is. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Basic.
It's not Ryan Reynolds. It's
Right.
Ed Sheeran.
Right.
And Ed Sheeran is arguably,
That's so great.
I mean, arguably, Ed Sheeran is clearly, Ryan Reynolds is clearly a good looking man. And Ed Sheeran is not.
it's hard for me to like, now that I know them and I know their personalities, I can't tell. Like for me, like Ed Sheeran is hot.
Ed Sheeran is hot.
Yes.
Because he
Ryan
looks safe.
is not, from what my bias of
Anyway, that's our show.
What a great way to
Thanks
end
for
it.
listening to today's episode. Be sure to
Speaking
subscribe,
of-
leave a comment, 5 stars, and Ed Sheeran, I love you.
I love
Please,
you too.
Come on,
What's happening
come on
with
the
Blake
podcast.
and Ryan right now?
We're not. That's a different episode.
The
dude.
news that really counts.
All right. That's it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. Go follow Kaneez on Instagram. And if you're not already following me, follow me too.
Yes.
While you're there, pre-order my book if you haven't. My baby got its first press on Bustle.
Oh, congratulations.
I'm so happy for her. My book baby.
Aw, the book
All right. Be lovable, but more importantly, be likable. See you next week.